Hey, so it's September and it's very, very windy, and I'm gonna try to do a garden tour and Ron Finley plant some shit. It's the best. Yeah, I may be in Sweden, but Black Lives Matter and support Black-owned companies. Give Black people money. It's good for you. It's good for your soul. I'm gonna make it really quick because the weather is banana pants. I put greenhouses over my brassicas. They are semi-anchored down with some rocks so that they do not blow away, because welcome to Skåne. I have a bunch of stuff I need to come out and harvest later. We are still getting more summer squash. This squash is doing much better than the stuff in the front yard, so I'm probably going to pull it out. This one is getting powdery mildew, and it's going to spread to the rest of them in this. So I'm going to try to take out the stuff that doesn't work anymore and replace it with new stuff. I got a couple radishes coming in down here, so I started to interplant. Planted some more garlic in here, and we still got, we're getting corn. Got tassels, right? We got tassels and silks. Like, I do not believe we will get corn, but it's possible. Maybe. It will be very funny and small and not well pollinated, but it is possible. I just pulled out the nasturtium from this bed because it was shading out the root vegetables that I was trying to grow in here and the cabbages. So there is some like rutabagas and some kohlrabi and Chinese cabbage that is growing in here. That they just need a little more space. And then one white cabbage in the back. Carrots are doing good, turnips are doing good, volunteer shard's fine, random pea is fine, this melon has not died yet, the beans are coming up, there's the volunteer potato, and my basil is coming and working. I'm not entirely certain what this is, so I'm going to assume that you are a weed that smells very nice, but yeah, that is not any of the vegetables growing in the box. So yeah, you get to go away before you set more seed. Yeah, but we're getting stuff, carrots and turnips and beans and peas, and then I just need to come out here and try to train these onto the actual trellis. Brussels sprouts, nasturtium losing their mind, watermelon that's never gonna give us a watermelon. But oh, hello, I am a snail trying to eat your Brussels sprouts. Not anymore. Goodbye, snail. Jerusalem artichokes are doing another set of flowers. I pulled off the deadheads just in case they were gonna just throw their seed and populate the yard. That made sense to me. More Brussels sprouts, some broccoli, and these are definitely starting to go to flower, which I'm gonna let these ones go to flower. There's another caterpillar, so he can go away. And we have more asparagus coming up. So we have random asparagus in the ground, and so they're fawning and will be established, and next spring we can harvest them. But these broccolis I'm just gonna let fully come to flower and then save the seeds. And then we can plant more broccoli next year in a better spot where they won't be overcrowded. These are kind of getting caterpillar sacrificed right now, which that's fine, because mostly my Brussels sprouts are being saved, so I will take that. Feels like an accident that is working out for the betterment of us. And so, yeah, occasionally I get caterpillars on here, and I either take care of them by hand, or I did BT once. And then there is just a weird cabbage down here that clearly got attacked by something, and I really should pull it out and feed it to the chickens. So later today I will probably do that when I do come around with the harvest basket. Volunteer potatoes. This is the big cabbage that we had harvested earlier. You can see down here where I had cut the original head off, and then it's setting off all of these little baby shoot cabbages. So there's little cabbage forming a head. So we're gonna get all these little individual cabbages because I just let it stay and I didn't take it out. This is butternut squash. This one is not doing as well as the other one by the chickens, and so I will be surprised if we get anything from that. this guy also is not doing awesome. I should probably take him out and replace him. But yeah, I may pull almost everything that's in here and replace this with some more brassicas, because I do have stuff that needs homes still, and this plant is doing awesome. Snails going after my pears. There are so many snails in this tree. I should really just put together a bucket of treats for the chickens, because they will like these. So yeah, maybe I'll do that later. These are the rest of my brassicas that were getting attacked by stuff. These were for my fall planting, but most of them have not survived, but I will find homes for these later today maybe. Yeah, just need to find safe places for them. On the back end of my squash, I planted some leeks and some spring onion, so bunching onions. So we will be getting onions for winter, fresh from the garden, and then they'll overwinter with a little bit of protection, and we should have onions, which is awesome. Blackberries, I need to come out and do a harvest of because they are ready and delicious finally, which they have not been. Potatoes that are starting to die back, so I need to do a harvest on that. There are some tomato suckers that I just put in the dirt. These are suckers from the cherry tomatoes, and I put them in the dirt, and then they just watered them well when I did the transplant in July, and now we're getting little cherry tomatoes just along this fence line. No fertilization, no nothing, so we'll see what the flavor on them is. No protection, and just because I was pruning my plant. And so we have two new, and there's 2 bunches on this one and 2 bunches on this one that are going to make us some food. Cucumbers I direct sowed, did not do well. They just didn't. This is some wood sorrel. That's very delicious. And a weed, some chickweed. That's what the flower of a chickweed looks like. It has 5 petals, but it looks like 10. Each one of these petals the 2 is from 1 petal. But this is very tasty, and the chickens love it. So I'm letting that just seed here, because this is where our new run is going to be. And that will make them happy to have free food. But yeah, these cucumbers never had enough nutrition. This, I'm pretty sure, is a blueberry. So I'm going to transplant them out. And then there's some strawberries in here. And yeah, we'll figure it out eventually. But I definitely need to come and get all these blackberries for dinner tonight, because those are ready. Those are delicious. Oh, finally. Our weird little pine tree, because we're silly. More volunteer potatoes. Mint, which this is always a mistake to put mint directly in the ground. But it's really good mint, and it smells really awesome when you brush against it. And my hope was that it would protect some of the garden a bit from other invasive species. And oh, yeah, no, that, for whatever reason, that is the best mint. And then this is the weird onion circle. And I might have to harvest these. They were just onions that sprouted, and I was growing them to try and get seed. 2 of them are setting off seed, but the rest of them are just making more onions off of the 1 onion that sprouted. So this 1 onion is now 4. This is 3. That one's 4. That one's 4. That one's 4. That one I think is just 2. And so, yeah, oh no, there's 5. There's a 5th little onion just growing up the side here. So yeah, I don't know what is going on with these onions that they're so random, but yeah, eventually I'll harvest these and we can eat them. Yeah, oh no, this one's 5 too. So yeah, it's just it's weird. And then there's a hosta that's just coming up. Volunteer hostas, because I think we used to have hostas here before. We cleared this out, so we just have hostas and a weed. No one wants that, so we'll pull him out. Oh, and then this is ground elder. So, wild edible parsley substitute. It's good. If you use too much of it, it can have a soporific effect, which can make you sleepy and lose control of your bowels. So I don't tend to eat it. More chickweed. A nice little clump of chickweed. And this is the imposter that grows near the wood sorrel but is not actually wood sorrel. So I do not do that. And then this is a wild geranium. So yeah, all this stuff is edible. All this is edible. I'm gonna take this big old clump of chickweed and go give it to the chickens. And this little clump of geranium and give it to the chickens. Because they don't live over here yet, but I think they would be super into this tasty treat. Yeah, that's the back garden. Okay, we'll go check on the chickens. Hello, chicks. Sad update. Last week, Blondie got out of the coop and got eaten by a dog. So Red is the only surviving member, but she is beautiful, and I think her name is just going to be Red, because we had Blondie, Brownie, and Red is the only one left. She is gorgeous, and she blends in really well with the hay. So I don't know if you can actually see her, but she is definitely a beauty. And I'm very much looking forward to diversifying our flock. She's very young, but she's huge. Like, she's catching up really fast. And I've never grown or raised flower hens before, but she and her mama are getting to be the same size fairly soon. But Aragorn is a great mom and is teaching her and taking care of her. And I'm fairly certain it's a hen. But yeah, no, she's a forager. Their breed is way more active. And so that is why the other two escape the coop, because they're curious and they want to just go run and be crazy. And this is also why we're building a bigger run. So their run will be 4 to 5 times the size of the current run. And we have new eggs that are in the incubator right now. We picked up more eggs from a different farmer, and right now we set 9 and 8 of them are developing. We'll see if all 8 make it all the way through, but that is a much better rate than 3 being viable from the 9 we set from the previous woman that we got the eggs from. But yeah, they're beautiful. This wind is ridiculous, but not as ridiculous as my butternut squash. It's enormous. It's just enormous. And we have at least 2 butternut squash that are forming. So we got 1 and 2 here, and then hopefully there's more in the rest. But yeah, these were butternut squash that were on the counter that we forgot to eat, and they went bad, and I grabbed some of the seeds, and I just found 2 more squash, which is awesome. So yeah, there's 2 more here, 1 and 2. But they floated, like there's no reason I should have plants, and instead I have these 2 plants that are just taking over the backyard and setting off runners, and they're just all by the chicken yard. And I've been pruning this back a little bit and then feeding them to the chickens, so they're super happy. And Gandalf is giving himself a dust bath, because that's how chickens do. Yeah, everybody's having breakfast and enjoying the chickweed. And I sprouted sunflower seeds for them earlier, so they've been having lots of greens today. So hopefully we will have very, very, very orange eggs this week. Okay, front garden. We have some stuff going on back there under cover. It is too windy for me to try to wrangle that, because it's just a really cheap little cover to try and keep the cabbage moths off of them. Cabbage being decimated by cabbage moths. Very large mushrooms that are just growing in the boxes. They're fine. This is my strawberry box. I'm gonna take this out eventually. I'm gonna transplant the runners into a kiddie pool. I finally found a kiddie pool, but this box will get cleared out, and then most likely I will plant more brassicas in here, because we have a brassica problem. I grow too many brassicas and I just keep popping them in everywhere, and it's easier to keep them covered in the boxes. So that is my plan. And yeah, you can see my little white cabbage moth hanging out in my greenhouse, making it weird for everybody, because just making it weird for everybody. That's what they do. But yeah, my chard, it's coming up. We're doing good. Threw a couple beets on top, but this is my chard bucket. This has been my shard bucket since 2017. I topped up the soil and just stripped the seeds off of the shard that had bolted in here and then put them back in, and everything's coming up. And so if the birds take some, I'm not worried about it because there is more than enough. Tomatoes, which this split, so that's going to go to the chickens. Yeah, a broccoli that's just being attacked by caterpillars. It's fine. This is the weird cabbage that just keeps getting attacked and coming back and getting attacked and coming back. It's fine. Cauliflower that is getting a little bit of pest damage, but it's okay. We'll see. Peas growing around the old tomatoes. Chard, peppers. We're finally starting to get ripe peppers, which is mostly funny because of how late it is in the season. Eggplants, pumpkins. We're getting pumpkins and tomatoes and kale, and I put some cucumbers in here. We'll see if they come up in time, right? But my hope is that because they're in the greenhouse, when I start actually closing everything up, it'll hopefully prolong the season. This loofah is finally setting some female blossoms, so we may get loofah. I'm trying to get this to catch that rafter beam, but we're almost there. So it'll be soon. But this is just becoming like a weird jungle with pumpkins and melons and a random broccoli and a random broccoli and tomatoes, and it's just banana pants. We do have a little bit of powdery mildew and damage on the leaves, but it's fine. We're getting pumpkins, and the rest of the plant looks fairly healthy, but I do need to come through and prune off these leaves that are showing sign of disease so it doesn't spread to other stuff. But yeah, I've got 3 melons in here and the 2 pumpkin plants, and then we've got this okra that is just starting to flower, and so we will have okra, which is kind of bananas. And there's just some basil in here and new tomatoes that are setting, and yeah, it's working out. And it's, again, more suckers just thrown into some pots. This was a pepper that got topped, and then it is now setting flowers and fruits, and we've got bee friends, my 1 chili pepper, sunflower sprouts for us to eat. Hello, little monarch butterfly. You can be our friend. More brassicas that just did not have a home and kept getting decimated by bugs. So it's fine. Randomness. Some peas. More peas that I'll transplant out at some point. That's a yellow beet that I was growing. And I'm just gonna show you this happy little monarch butterfly. Because there's a happy little monarch butterfly that's just hanging out in the greenhouse. Peppers that I started for hydroponic, if we ever get that going. More cherry tomatoes, which is where the suckers from outside came from. They all originated off this plant. This is the original plant. I bought these 2 at the Plantagen, the plant store. They were on sale, and I just grabbed them and put them in there, and I've been pulling suckers off of them and replanting them. So most of my tomatoes have come from these 2 plants that I just kept rooting suckers. And so that whole bucket over there, same thing, rooted suckers. Outside, bunch of rooted suckers, all the ones in the back. These are some kohlrabi growing in a bucket. The watermelon that will never give us watermelon. Some basil, a volunteer tomato from my tomatoes that I planted last year. So this is just a totally different variety, which is awesome. Some basil, my noodle beans that will never make me beans, random extra brassica seeds that I just threw in this bucket with my chives, and was originally harvesting as microgreens, and then I'm letting them grow up because they're there. And some volunteer mint. More tomatoes, again, same thing, suckers, setting off tomatoes, and then we've got cherry tomatoes coming in here. And then my hope is that being in the greenhouse, they will make it past prolong our winter, and maybe we'll be able to have tomatoes all year. My tower, this is a pepper. This was supposed to be a beet, but somehow a pepper got in there. Not entirely sure. It's okay. But yeah, we are definitely having caterpillars. Bane of my existence are these caterpillars. So you get to go in the bucket for the friends. But this is why I always plant too much, so that I can get rid of the damage when we get it and not feel sad and still have food. So that is just chicken snacks for later. Yeah, and I've been fairly good about keeping up on these ones. Oh, that's some aphids, so that's not awesome. I'll probably come through and do a BT spray this weekend when I don't have the kids. But yeah, and then I just been rotating this tower every day so that we get more sun. You can tell that this is not getting as much as this guy, so I need to get this portion, more sunlight. The rest of them are growing fairly steady. But yeah, so I could harvest these leaves now and just use them as greens, but I'm letting them bulb up this beet. So hopefully we will get those beets fairly soon. Dragon kale down there just getting decimated, and some very nice mint, which is nice. Thank you, mint. Thank you for being minty. But do your job and keep the pests away. So, but I have mint and basil in there around the bottom. And this is ridiculous. So I'm gonna harvest that, and that's gonna be lunch. Oh, I need scissors. Okay. Yeah, and then just the grapes, which I have one, which is very tasty. I've got lots of fruit right now. My clementine tree that has seen better days, and I need to pot up and get moved into the greenhouse at some point. It was too hot in there for this summer, and it freaked out my weird victory bucket that is not full of that much victory. It just has a couple beans in it, and the nasturtiums have just been taking over. I'm gonna need to pull all of the nasturtiums. I was waiting for this one to set some seeds I could harvest because I thought it was really pretty, but yeah, I don't know that I need to do that. It's just jungly, and that's the jungle I'm making on purpose. So I will probably take this out and replant this bucket because it is a waste. And we do have some tomato suckers in here, and it's just getting out competed and outshaded. And then this Brussels sprout is getting annihilated by this wild nasturtium nonsense. Potatoes in bags, and cabbages and beans and Brussels sprouts, and wild strawberries in the back. The carrots I planted earlier in spring, which we are harvesting and eating as they come, and then my perennial chard. This tree is like 3 years old, and then all of the babies around it are from the seeds that it dropped when it bolted. So we have all of this food that we should harvest and do something with. And then this is my new salad that kept getting attacked by the birds, and then also some beets and some dill back there, and some wild violets. And then I moved out the rest of the dinosaur kale out here, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a slug or caterpillars that are eating it. And then just my rosemary. And yeah, this guy's been doing good. And this area is a little bit more protected from the wind, so this isn't anchored down. Sorry, tractor, country life. But we should be getting some stuff. And I planted a purple cabbage in here as well because this is protected. So yeah, so many tractors. This bucket is doing okay. The dogs kept jumping in here and eating the peas. So the peas look terrible because the dogs keep eating them. But we have a pumpkin. And the salsify is doing okay aside from being trampled by the dogs. And the kale has recovered and is coming back. The other kale had root fly, and so it died. Put yellow beets on top of this guy and planted out strawberry runners. A bunch of them did not do well, but that's okay because strawberries are banana pants and they'll figure it out. This one's doing much better, but same thing. There's beets on top, and so trying to make use of all the space. Same thing, like the one sad kale that had root fly had decimated it. And then we are working on getting a pumpkin here. This one did not set a pumpkin. That's just a dead guy. But so maybe we will get a pumpkin from this plant as well, which would be awesome. And then raspberries, beautiful, beautiful raspberries. We've been getting them since June, so maybe even May. I think June. But we've been getting them for at least the last 3-4 months, and they'll go all the way up until the frost. And then here's some runners from the raspberries, and they are starting to blossom. So these will probably be the last ones that we harvest. And then I just need to cut the canes way back this year. Yeah, I need to cut the canes way back this year. And I've been really bad about harvesting these. So this guy is like crazy overripe. Right, like that is not the color you want your raspberry to be. It's still good. It's like candy. These beans are trying to make beans. These broad beans are making beans. I transplanted some of the kohlrabi out here from the tower. I thinned it out and then took transplants and put them in here. And they're starting to form up and grow. This is a pumpkin, and we'll hopefully get some pumpkins out of it. I need to do something with this oregano. It is beautiful, but it is bananas. And if these seeds get out, they're just gonna take over the whole yard. So that's just my big old list of stuff to do. Tomato runners, which very silly. Just like, it's just 2 fruit on this like stick. There's no plant. It's kind of funny. A nasturtium that just has a couple very beautiful flowers, but is outcompeted. This little teeny tiny sunflower that volunteered, but is outcompeted by all of its friends. So we just have this very funny little sunflower. More tomatoes and beets. I started clearing out some of this to make it easier for the beets to get sun when I pruned back, and then more suckers that we just stuck in, and we're getting fruit. So that's awesome. The hugel bed is still going strong, but I do need to pull out the squash out here. I think the squash out here is done, and I'm just going to rely on the stuff in the back, and then I'll weed out and transplant stuff. We are getting more sunflowers. This main head I harvested last week, and it's drying in the house, and then it's making these little side shoots, which are super pretty and cute. And that, I'm pretty sure, is a wasp just hanging out, so I'm going to leave him alone. And then there's cabbages down here, some chrysanthemums, yeah, scarlet kale, and broccoli, which we never got like a main head. We've just been getting the side shoots, and so I'm harvesting them all the time. But I'll show you from this bed what they look like. So this guy is about to flower, so I actually need to harvest him and eat him too. So we did that last night for dinner, so it's going to be another broccoli shoots dinner night tonight, I think. And that's just tiny tiny snail on a broccoli leaf that's trying to be in the bucket. There's some beets that I just sowed some seeds, and we'll see if they get it together. A pumpkin plant and more tomatoes, and just, yeah, got a little pumpkin, and that's the garden. And I need to get a basket, and I need to whack these nasturtiums back, because this is bananas, this nasturtium jungle. And sorry, I just got the hiccups. Woo. But yeah, there's very pretty things. And we have very lovely calendula and very lovely nasturtiums taking over the world. So this, the hugel bed is the clear winner in terms of just sheer chaos, romantic beauty, and leafy greenness. Yeah. So yeah, the hugel bed on top of the chicken manure, that was a lot of nitrogen, so it's doing really well with the leafy greens. And yeah, this guy, the no dig, not as great, but it did give us pumpkins, whereas this one hasn't given us pumpkins yet. There's a pumpkin plant buried underneath that giant tomato, and that tomato definitely has fruit on it that is ready to harvest. So I need to get in there and get all those tomatoes out, and then dry them, because they are the ones that I've been making sun-dried tomatoes with. Oh, and my blueberries that we will put around the garden or the coop. And they're awesome. Toddlers making it weird. Yeah, a couple Brussels sprouts that are not doing as well. I think I need to water them, and then I don't know what this is, so I'm just going to pull it. It's definitely some kind of nightshade, whether it's a potato or it's deadly nightshade or something. I don't know, so I'm not going to play with it. Oh, and fennel. So other eggplant, weird volunteer stuff, weeds, and fennel. And so, yeah, hopefully we will get some fennel we can eat. And then hopefully these blueberries will come back year after year after year, and we will have blueberries forever. Because that is the goal. Perennial blueberries all the time. Yeah. I need to get a basket and harvest some stuff, because there is a bunch of stuff to harvest. Even though it does not feel like summer, there's still, I think this is the last of the summer garden. Yeah, we're getting ready for fall and winter. And I'm gonna take this and one of my tomatoes and make a tomato sandwich before I give up on summer. Yeah, thanks for watching from the Chickens, the Sanderson sisters, the Fellowship, and Red, and Arwen, and Gollum, and Gentrification. Hi, Gentrification. Nice to see you. Yeah, very sweet. Yes, I know, Sarah. You do not approve of this wind. But yeah, nothing better than new life on the farm. This was the biggest tomato of the year, but it's split. So now that is chicken food. It's really pretty. Definitely cat-faced. But yeah, super pretty. Chicken food. Tomato, squash, eggplant, and eggs. Yay! Yellow squash. Oh, and broccoli. Yeah, the broccoli sprouts, which are awesome. Now I just gotta go make some lunch.